This is Navigating Cyber Risk podcast with me, John Riley, and George Usey as your hosts. Join us as we explore the challenges faced by executives as they grapple with new and ever-changing cybersecurity mandates. Welcome, everybody, to the Navigating Cyber Risk podcast. Today, we've got a special show with Valerie Cobb and myself, John Riley. Man, she's already cracking up. This is an easy one for me. All right. Is it the radio announcer voice? Is that the problem?
It is the radio announcing voice. I can't even do it. I have such a tinny voice. It's like, go ahead. You do.
I'll try and make it more like butter. All right. Anyway.
Ooh, I like it. So
today we are going to talk about CMMC and the need for CMMC and why some of the things that we're hearing about when we're talking to people about CMMC and some of the people that are trying to avoid it. So Valerie, you're talking to a lot of these customers and potential customers and so what are you hearing when you talk to them about CMMC? I mean, it seems like we're getting a number of different responses. Give us a couple of samples.
Okay. Number one, first of all, it's easy to tick off Valerie. So I have to honestly say, and that's just because it isn't easy, and it is. I'm pretty patient, but on the end of things, when we are in business and we are transacting business, I don't care if you're a nonprofit, you're transacting some kind of business. That you're calling up investor, you're calling up, here's your cold caller. Hey, I've got this country that needs water and all of these things. You are getting donations to your nonprofit. That's true. And there's nothing wrong with that. I donate all the time. I love donating. That's not the problem. When you're in your country, I don't care what country you're in, if you are not protecting the citizens of that country, because that's what you, as a government, agreed to do, right? You might be born into that country. I can't say one way or the other. Maybe you moved to that country, because I have lived internationally. And John's rolling his eyes already and looking at the time. I'm just kidding. Anyways, to answer that question, if we are servicing the U.S. government in this situation, CMMC is servicing the U.S. government. You can be a contractor outside the United States and still service the U.S. government, but you're servicing the U.S. government's defenses, all right? That means that you're selling into that government to help protect the citizens of that community. And I think the thing that bothers me around CMMC, and again, I get opinionated, is we send out our soldiers. We send out defenses to protect. I'm not talking immigration. I'm talking about threat, whether internal, external, those kinds of things. And there's this hubbub that says, will CMMC, you have to pass an assessment. Will it be enacted? And we hear that all the time. And I hear all the time the number one, well, I'm too small as a business to make that happen. Now, you are making money as a business. You're not a nonprofit in this one, although not, like I said, that's questionable because there are nonprofits and they have to still pay their bills. So they're still bringing in money. So there is some kind of currency that's transacting, right? And they say, well, I'm too small, biggest one recently was, well, because I'm so small, I'm going to have Congress change this. Now, I'm a U.S. citizen right now. I've lived in other countries. I don't want my defenses down for the excuse that we are too small. First of all, why on earth are you trying to change Congress to begin with? The reality is, how do you defend and put people at risk if you're not willing and you're selling it, get out of the business. Don't sell into that. That's how I feel about it, right? It's me as a citizen. I was sitting, John, I was at ConExpo and we had heavy equipment and we had another nation that also had heavy equipment, and here's their drones flying over our heavy equipment to steal that intellectual property. And I'm standing there and they're stealing that intellectual property. Now, that wasn't defending a border, but that's my intellectual property that hurts my company, hurts my employees, hurts all of those things, the competition. Now, say it's the Department of Defense. That's me.
Right. Well, I think from that standpoint, I mean, a little clarification on what CMMC is, right? I mean, CMMC is the Cybersecurity Maturity Model certification, and it's really required specifically for DoD contractors at this time. And what it's supposed to do, or what the purpose of it is to protect the data of the DoD, the Department of Defense, when there's things that are not supposed to be out for the general public, right? We generally don't find the blueprints for tanks online, for instance, and hopefully not. You can't build one at home. You can't print one, 3D print one, maybe. But so that's the reason that it exists. The question is, I mean, we've had top secret things for so long. Why now? Why is CMMC, what's this big push for CMMC now? And, as you said, some people are saying, well, I'm going to change Congress, or there's too much cost, or there's too many things involved with doing this. Now, these contractors have been in this business for a long time, and they've been getting this data for a long time. So why? Why is this changing?
So I'm going to go to a little story about Amazon to answer that question. Amazon years ago, because I'm old enough to remember when they started and everything, they were able to have so much data before any laws were enacted that they could probably reproduce and clone me to this day, simply because it's been there for a long time. I mean, that's what we look at. When we look at trying to identify, if you're a threat and you look at identifying the most least thing, maybe it was that years ago, it was a pregnancy test, and all of a sudden I'm getting recommendations of vitamins for prenatal vitamins, right? I took a pregnancy test. Now I'm getting prenatal vitamins. So they know your patterns as a human, right? We can,
Sure.
in AI, we can a lot of times create deep fakes. We can do all sorts of things that seem so real. So to answer that question, is any nugget of data, there's so much data floating around that we don't even recognize as something that could be used by a threat. Now, I play on TV, The Spy and James Bond, all this other stuff, but you think about even the most, hardly anything that goes in through an email. But why are you ordering 6,000 of these cogs? Then you follow down the line of all where the data is going. And it's like, eventually you can build a submarine if you can follow the track of the data. Now, I am not John Riley, who probably could have put that in better technical terms, but I know I have external hard drives that probably has sensitive information about my family, my friends, my loved ones, that you could rebuild me if you got a hold of some of my external hard drives from 2008, right? So if we're trying to defend, the first thing that any threat actor does goes to the lowest hanging fruit. We talk about Target and the HVAC vendor, right? Lowest hanging fruit is the ones that are easiest to penetrate, because I'm a threat actor. I'm not going to go to the hard thing. That's too hard. Right. I'm going to begin to profile bits by bits by bits by bits. And as soon as I have enough bits, that's where if I were doing bad things, which I never do because I'm like this little angel all the time, but if I wasn't, That's where I would probably start in the background to build. So you asked why now? It probably should have been done 10 years ago, 20 years ago, maybe when Amazon first started, but we didn't know about it back. We didn't really understand it completely, at least in my book. That's opinion according to Valerie. Did I answer that question, John,
I
or
think
did
so.
I dance
But
around it?
yeah, I mean, so here's my opinion on it, right? I mean, so for a long time we've had the regulations. I mean, many people have heard of FedRAMP, right? And the FedRAMP
But many
certifications.
haven't.
Sure.
What is FedRAMP? You actually had to define CMMC. So what is FedRAMP?
So FedRAMP is I'll call it the predecessor still to CMMC. FedRAMP is a certification program for applications or equipment or anything else that is purchased by the federal government. And so like encryption and different things are met during that. So but the FedRAMP certification of the equipment is a little different than manufacturing something that's maybe secret or top secret or what's called CUI.
Certain unclassified information.
Yeah. So when it comes to FedRAMP, though, a lot of businesses were able to do a self certification and just a self attestation. Yes, I've met all the requirements, and therefore go ahead and give me that giant contract, right? And then
Oh.
as soon as they received that contract, they found out that some other nation state was within their network and also had access to it. Right? And so all those things that they signed off on that they were FedRAMP and certified and self-attested just was not true.
You
Uh,
mean trust me doesn't work anymore?
That's exactly what I'm saying. And so the CMMC, the reason for the CMMC is the DoD got tired of that and said, okay, enough of that. If we're giving you something that's of value to us and marked as CUI, we are going to come. There's if you're just a manufacturer and we don't really care about the data, it's already public knowledge. Fine, we'll give you, we'll allow you to self attest, and that's level one. At level two, we're giving you some more sensitive data. It may be older. It may be something that's not quite, top secret. And what will allow that to happen is we're going to have somebody come in and audit you to make sure that you're doing those things. And we're going to make sure that that happens every 3 years to make sure that you're keeping up with it, despite changes, despite how you process changes in your organization. But we're going to every 3 years come in and have somebody audit you and actually tell us that you're doing the right things. And then there's that top secret level that we're going to give you the newest, best tank or fighter jet data, and we want that protected 100%. And therefore, we don't even trust that third party to come in and audit you anymore. The DIB is going to come in and audit you and make sure that you're protecting that data. And we're going to do that on a regular basis as well as an unannounced basis to make sure that you're meeting those requirements. It is all in response to what happened with FedRAMP and the lack of people keeping track of or doing the right thing of actually meeting those requirements and staying with those requirements. And so now it's trust but verify and verify and verify and verify. We a lot of companies just can't say trust me anymore, as you put it, right? And so this is the next iteration. And so that maturity model of certifications, that's where we're at. So getting Congress to change that, or trying to tell your vendor, tell your prime contractor, hey, I don't want to do that, is just not going to be an option because they've lost too much data and they're tired of losing that data. And so with FedRAMP being that predecessor, the rest of the government is actually still now looking at taking CMMC and making that more of the standard, and either combining FedRAMP, which is 853, and CMMC, which is 800-171, NIST ones, and combining those and making it one set of standards across the board. But I think they're waiting to see how well CMMC does for the DoD contractors first. But ultimately, we may run into something where it becomes more of a standard across the board for all contractors with the government instead of FedRAMP.
Yeah, I think, you're so calming when it comes into that and the bit fire, because to me, it really bothers me that organizations have such apathy over it. It's like, it's not going away. Yay, it's not going away, but you should have been probably working on this anyway. That's where I get ticked, because it's kind of like, you are protecting, as an organization, your customers. That's what you're doing. And you know me, I work in the small business realm. I totally get you. Cash flow sucks when you're trying to figure all this stuff out, and we end up with these thinking that this is a cost expense versus an opportunity expense, because it will also be many that realize that they will get contracts because they have complied with this. So whatever the cost was, they can work agreements with prime contractors to help them get ready. Or there's a lot of various different grants running around out there. I find that, oh gosh, it's a cost. No, it isn't a cost. Like, it's going to be like toilet paper. You need it.
Well, and and
It's like,
and
do it.
and and as an executive of a company, it's your job to find the opportunities. This is one of those opportunities for you to leapfrog over your competition, work
Yeah.
with your prime, go to your prime now and say, "Hey, I'd like to become CMMC certified, and I want to do it more quickly than your other people because I want to earn your business faster." That is the way to the prime's heart. Hey, I want to earn more business if I do this with you. Or can you help me get here? And how do we make it so that I earn more business out of this, and be proactive. If you're going to sit back and go, I don't want to do it, I'm drag me kicking and screaming, they're going to go to that other person that's there knocking on the door going, I'm ready. Bring
I'm ready. Yeah.
Put
I'm
me in,
ready.
coach.
I've done it. Yeah.
Put me in, coach. I'm ready.
Put me in. Yeah. And I'm a big advocate of no file folders, no spreadsheets to try to manage this, because you get your assessment coming out and it's like, oh my gosh, you're not going to pass that thing. So again, this is a shameless pitch. It's not a shameless pitch, but it is. You should, at least bare minimum, be tracking in some kind of GRC platform so that you're not like, yeah.
Well, even more so than that. I mean, the word that I actually, it's not the certification that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's not the it's not the model that's the thing. It's not the compliance thing. It's the maturity. I don't care who you are. There is no way that, I mean, I have never seen a baby walk out of the womb.
Nope. That's big. Okay, this episode is now called I Have Not Seen the Baby Walk Out of the Womb. And with that said, we've had another good one. Thanks for inviting me on the show, John.
It's a pleasure, and I appreciate your perspective on it, and when we did the initial, you were fired up about this one, and so we definitely uh, I may look more imposing, but when this comes to this, I mean, Valerie is the spitfire on this one. So if you have more questions, let's get her on the phone, and she will tell you.
I will tell you honestly and truthfully. No, you can't say trust me. But yes, at the end of the day, I don't know. I'm a champion of small business. I love them dearly. We all know this. At the end of the day, I want them all to succeed. There's 33 million of them in the United States alone. I want them to win. This isn't anything to do with trying to sell a product. This is actually a winning strategy. You actually should do this so that you separate yourself from the men from the boy. But you obviously, and I can't even say men, gosh, that's not even POC anymore. All right. That's not even, that is, yeah, sorry. Politically correct. I can't say that either. What can I say, John? I just feel like I can't say any words at all. Blah, 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 blah at the end of the day.
At the end of the day,
At the end of the day, you should protect yourself from the competition. You should also be willing to protect your customers, whatever they are,
yeah.
whether it's a nonprofit, whether it's a whatever. You should be willing to do it, because if you don't, it is only a question of time when your
Somebody else
competitor
will.
will.
Somebody else will. is what it comes down to. If you're not stepping up to the plate, if you know, and taking those big swings. I mean, using baseball as an analogy, you're not going to get the home runs. You're not, you're playing defense. You're not going to get there. So, I mean, if you are running a business and one of your customers happens to be the DoD, this is your chance to shine and really step up and make it happen. Be the leader that's there. Be the coach, right?
It's an opportunity. It's a total opportunity.
Yeah.
All right, bring us home. What do
All
you
right. Well,
do from this?
from what you need to do from this, obviously, if you need help getting CMMC certified or need to understand better how to do it, increase that maturity. If you're, and if you're not ready to walk out of the womb, then let's figure out a way to help you out. But always follow, and share this with other customers that may need help or that are in the same boat. Your best friends that you're drinking beer with or whatever, and when as you're manufacturing, don't do it as you're manufacturing, but be around the same time. But honestly, that's really it. It was a great time. Thank you, Valerie, for being on the show. I appreciate it, and not yelling at everybody. That was a good step here. But I appreciate it, and thanks everybody for watching and listening. This was another amazing episode of Navigating Cyber Risk, powered by Omnistruct. Show us some love by subscribing and sharing today. Reach out to us with any comments, questions, or ideas about future shows by emailing us at podcast@omnistruct.com. Until next time, remember, governance is not a technology.